Welcome to Michigan Reimagined, presented by T.A. Forsberg and Wagoner Financial. And here's your host, Chris Buck.
So our friends at the Lansing Economic Area Partnership, or LEAP, recently introduced the TREC Small Business Support Hub. This comprehensive resource center is designed to support small businesses and entrepreneurs in Clinton, Eaton, and Ingham Counties, but I suspect that there's offerings all around the state, depending on where you're listening from. Here to explain the program is our Vice President of Small Business and Innovation, Harrison Leffel-Jones. Welcome back to the show, Harrison.
Great. Thanks so much for having me, Chris.
I got your title right. Is that right?
Okay,
that's correct. Fantastic. Yep. So start by telling us what TREC stands for. What does that name even mean? Yeah,
so with every program, there's got to be a cute name that goes along with it. So it's the Tri-County Resource for Entrepreneurs and Knowledge Hub. So the TREC Hub, really designed to be the air traffic control for all small business support here in the greater Lansing region. So getting you the right resources at the right time with the right partners for your small business.
Got it. So we say small business, but is the TREC program who is it designed to assist specifically? Are there criteria as to who's eligible and who's not?
Yeah. So small business obviously can mean a lot of different folks. We typically focus on that micro enterprise. So 0 to 25 employees,
okay.
Anything from back of the napkin, just getting started up to really scaling your business, hopefully on your way to $1 million in annual reoccurring revenue is really our focus. After that point, we hand you off to our partners, even internally at the LEAP team, to get you to that next level of growth. But we're really focused on that kind of micro enterprise, just getting you started and off the ground.
Got it. Okay. So people who have ideas and maybe the shell of a business plan can still apply for some of the assistance through you. Is that right?
Yep.
So,
that's correct.
What is the intake process? Is this Is this funding or services that are available for a very finite period of time and everyone needs to be applying at the same time and you either make the cut or you don't and you run through a cohort? Or is this something that people kind of rolling admissions?
Yeah, it's much more rolling admissions, and that's where we're trying to go with LEAP programming generally. We may have cohorts within that, right, for specific resources or services, but the submission forms open now, and it will be open for the next 2.5 years. So the TREC Small Business Support Hub is funded by a grant from the federal government and the MEDC, really focused on getting diverse businesses more included. And that includes our rural outer county regions, getting them access to these support services that we've had for years, but haven't really been able to reach out into our, kind of wider region to make sure that they have access to that. So yeah, you can go onto our website and sign up for the TREC Small Business Support Hub. We ask a bunch of information, and that's really to help us align the resources that might be a good fit for your business at that stage. So we don't want to send you to a program where it's really focused on later stage businesses if you're just at the idea stage, and vice versa. So it's a long form, but really focused on making sure that we get the most information to get you to the right place with the right partners.
Got it. Okay. So let's unpack some of that.
Sure.
So you've got money from the MEDC, the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, and the feds.
Correct.
So there is this corpus. Now and LEAP is the steward of deploying these resources for mid-Michigan, but will listeners find kind of equal but different services like this around the state? If I'm listening in Grand Rapids or Detroit or Saginaw or Traverse City, do I have to say, this is a LEAP thing for Tri-County and mid-Michigan? No, they can research. Do they use TREC, or is that kind of a LEAP?
TREC is the LEAP specific program in this region. But if anyone were to look up small business support hubs in Michigan, there's 28 of them across the state, and they range from local chambers of commerce up to organizations similar to LEAP, all with slightly different programming, but all basically the same services of supporting that kind of smaller micro enterprise. We also partner with the Small Business Association of Michigan. They're a small business. They're a small business support hub as well, and they're focused on that second stage. So 10 or more employees, $1 million in revenue, kind of really fast growing company. So there's lots of resources on the MEDC website itself. It has a listing of all of the support hubs across the state with contact details. So I highly encourage people to check that out.
Got it. Okay. And then you mentioned also diversity and even rural, right? So are they qualifiers, or is that just you want to make it known that you're interested in having those types of small businesses apply?
Yeah, so pretty much every business in the Tri-County region is going to qualify in some capacity. The program funding from the federal government, these are leftover American Rescue Plan dollars from COVID relief.
Yep.
And so really with the focus of companies that may have been disproportionately affected by COVID-19, which, as we know, are folks of color, folks in rural counties, folks in urban areas, right? Which if you look around our region, a lot of people check those boxes.
Right.
Even if you hadn't started your business during COVID, maybe you had to make a career change due to COVID-19. Maybe you were out of work for part of that. Maybe you decided, hey, it's finally time for me to start a business. All of those things qualify you as part of this program. So we work with you to make sure that you qualify, and we haven't had to reject anybody thus far.
Fantastic. All right. Well, I want to pause real quick and give a thanks to our friends at the Forsberg Real Estate Company. When it comes to creating the best living and working environments for the community, no one does it better than my friends at the Forsberg Real Estate Company. Brent Forsberg and his team create vibrant, holistic communities that inspire growth and encourage belonging. Focused on building stronger connections for people, a Forsberg project is always in tune with balancing relationships to create the optimum human experience. Since the 1950s, Forsberg has been enhancing the quality of life in the communities they serve by following the principles of regenerative growth and aligning the resources and tools that are available. Reach out to my friends at Forsberg Real Estate Company by calling 517-349-9330 or check out their website at lansingrealestate.com. So I'm encouraged to hear you say that you haven't had to, reject anyone per se. So people go to the website, which is what?
Yep. purelansing.com/startup.
Got it. And you said that there's somewhat of a lengthy intake form. You're going to want to know quite a bit about what they do and how they're probably funded and what their business plan is and things of that nature. So someone on your team, if not you personally, will go through that process, stamp it, let's just say as, approved. Then what happens? Like, what kinds of services are actually available? Are there like cash grants, or is there education, or what is the offering?
Yeah, so it's really all of the above. We have 15 partners who are signed up to the TREC Small Business Support Hub. Some of those programs are internal to LEAP. Many people will be familiar with our One and All, Elevate, Ascend programs that are specifically at different stages of your entrepreneurial journey. But we work with folks like Startup Grind Lansing, the Lansing Regional Chamber of Commerce, Transformation Gems, the Fledge. I could go on and on with all the different partners that are signed up to that. And really what that allows you to do as a small business owner and entrepreneur is to really deep dive into what each of these different partners offer and then self-select and opt into their programs.
Oh, okay.
So for the first time ever, instead of having to go to 15 different websites and try and sign up with different things and not knowing schedules and all of that kind of stuff, you automatically get signed up for them. And then those partners reach out to that small business directly and say, hey, this is the upcoming program that you can take part of. So it's really exciting. It's the first time in our region's history where everybody's been at the same table and you can go to one place to access that information.
Makes a lot of sense. So based on the business type, you'll get pushed into, something that's, available out there that is for people that are in your space.
Correct. And, we jokingly call it a bit of air traffic control from that perspective. And so LEAP acts as that, air traffic control. We haven't quite gotten to the point of wearing orange vests with the little light aspects, but we're getting closer every day. And that's definitely part of our aim over the next year and a half here is really to nail down that process to make sure you're not just kind of feeling like you're floating out there and not knowing what that next step looks like for you.
Got it. And I made a note on my sheet here that, when I was reviewing your website in preparation for this, they talk about 4 major buckets of what people do get. So then you've touched on them. So training and workshops, right? And then access to capital, which is always a big deal, networking opportunities, and then innovation support. Talk about the innovation support. Who are the experts that are going to help people do that kind of innovation?
Yeah, so the innovation support is a big focus for us in the small business and innovation team. We're really trying to make sure that all of our entrepreneurs are not only just thinking about, hey, how can I keep up with the current tools and access to innovation that is out there in 2024, but should we be looking to 2034 and 2044, right? And what are those upcoming things that I can really make sure that my business is staying ahead of the curve on? So we partner with Startup Grind and their AI meetups to make sure that our our folks have access to the right tools for building their businesses in a tech-forward way. My colleague Angel Miller has just recently launched the Capital Area Startup Studio, which is focused on low-code and no-code technology. So you want to build an app for your business, there's a lot of great tools out there that don't require you to have a 4-year computer science degree. So making sure that our clients are aware of those tools that are out there and making it a self-serve and self-taught environment where we can say, hey, here's the tools to make sure that you can stay not only current, but ahead of the curve. And that's really what we talk about when we're thinking about innovation. We also partner heavily with the MSU Research Foundation, Spartan Innovations. So all of our companies can sign up to work with a mentor in residence through them as well, which is a great way to say, hey, there's a massive, Big Ten research university just down the road from you. Have you been working with professors? Are there students on campus that are working on these really innovative projects that you could be partnering with to help grow your business?
Right. It seems like we here in mid-Michigan have a pretty amazing ecosystem, right? I mean, again, I haven't spent a lot of time doing this type of economic development role in other cities, but as I sit and hear more and more of these stories, it seems as though what we have is pretty special. Do you have any kind of lens nationally to say that, yes, mid-Michigan is pretty unique because of our thing, or are we one of many communities around the country that have this kind of support for small businesses?
Yeah, I would say that we're definitely one of many, but, in talking with people from other states and regions similar to ours across the country, Michigan has come a long way in the last even 2 or 3 years in terms of our startup ecosystem.
Right.
I think we've all realized that we truly are stronger together. And when we break down some of these silos between university and community, that's where the real magic starts to happen. And I think that with some of these new programs, again, money talks. And so having money at the table to actually form these bridges between these different community groups has really accelerated that partnership and that growth between different community organizations that have been around for a long time, but haven't necessarily had the resources or capacity to build those intentional bridges to say, hey, you're a community entrepreneur, you should be partnering with MSU students, faculty, and staff.
And you say that, and that resonates to me because I would imagine, again, I've only been in Michigan since 2008, but it wouldn't be hard for me to understand that Michigan probably really leaned into supporting the existing businesses that were here, and the concept of really trying to, and you think about the things that we use almost every day were probably created and invented in the last 10 or 15 years, right? There's so much innovation and so many brands that didn't exist 5-10 years ago that it seems naive not to try to grow your own unicorns, right? Which, are the big startups. And then, the skeptic could say, well, why put so much resource into small business startups when so many startups fail? But as I dig more and more into these collaborations and the support and the ecosystem that I mentioned earlier, the success rate, even if it doubles, from 15% to 30% or whatever your opportunities to have a successful business. So my question was going to be, why is it important to support startups at this time? Why not use some of these resources to help, make an existing business stronger than it already is? But that's already happening. And so how do you measure success?
Yeah. So success for us, and again, going to that point of, where do you put the limited resources, right, that you have?
Right.
And we often use the term economic gardening, right? Mm-hmm. If you plant 100 sunflowers, maybe 10 of them pop up, right? But if those 10 go on to be really strong ones and you use those seeds to plant the next ones, and, that cycle continues on down year after year. And so, yeah, sure, even if 90% of those startups don't make it, the 10% that do might grow to a point where they can get back into the ecosystem and fuel that next growth. So success for us looks like, how do we make sure that, if it is that 10 entrepreneurs out of the 300 that have filled out our intake form so far, that those ones really go the extra distance so that they can be successful. So we're measured on new companies that are starting, but really our focus is not just that, but what is the revenue and the growth of those businesses? We just did our first ever LEAP annual survey of our small businesses, and with more than 300 responses, we had some really impressive numbers in terms of our revenue and our growth in that sector specifically. So of those businesses surveyed, they had more than $30 million in reoccurring revenue over the past 12 months, which is a huge step forward. So even though people may feel a bit shaky about the economy at certain times, investing in your small local businesses are what keep a community and a region thriving for the long haul.
Right. And those are jobs too.
Right.
These aren't all one person operations. And even if they are, having another person creating wealth for themselves doesn't hurt the trickle down from there as well. I want to give a shout out to my friends at Triterra. Triterra is a leading environmental consulting firm headquartered in Lansing, Michigan, but with staff around the state to serve your brownfield redevelopment, environmental consulting, and natural resource management needs. Since 2008, Triterra has been successfully advising a wide range of organizations to implement solutions to complex environmental challenges. If you're a business, a developer, a property owner, a lending institution, attorney, or governmental entity looking for a solution, and you want prompt and timely service, do not hesitate to contact my friends at Triterra. Led by CEO and visionary Don McNabb and his leaders JP Buckingham and Dave Van Haren, and there are dozens of technical experts you can't miss by calling Triterra at 517-702-0470 or check them out at triterra.us. They mean it when they say it's not just what we do, it's who we are and how we do it. So you've got this program. Is this meant to age out, or do you think the TREC program will get kind of reseeded? And I'm not even sure what the capital outlay is. You mentioned that there's some grant, access to capital as one of the bullet points, but it almost seems more like a connective tissue where you come to us, we quarterback, your needs and where you stand and all the, the type of business that you are, and deploy you into resources that maybe are already in play. So I guess my question is does this phase out, or do you think this continues on?
Yeah. So the TREC Hub program, which we applied for the funding through the MEDC runs from now until the end of 2026.
Okay.
So, relatively short timeline, but the focus for us was, let's not create something new. Let's take the existing resources in our region and create that exactly what, as you said, connective tissue and quarterbacking for those businesses. We do have some limited access to grant funds through this program for our small businesses, but we keep up the conversation with them that grants are great, but growing your business with revenue and customers is going to be way more important.
Yeah.
And so even if you do end up getting a grant through us, our focus is making sure that, those programs that we have partnered with continue to exist past 2026. So we're already looking at additional funding sources, and that the businesses we're interacting with don't become reliant on a grant program, and that they are truly building foundations that will far outlast this program.
Got it. And you mentioned just throughout your answers a lot of other kind of partners, right? So the Small Business Association, you talked about Spartan Innovations and the Michigan State University Research Foundation, the Chamber. Are there any other, say, like corporate folks that are involved helping foster these startups, or are there any other, not-for-profits and other organizations that are partnering on this that you haven't mentioned yet?
Yeah, we definitely are always seeking more partners. So we've, even since we've started, we've had more people say, hey, I want to be part of this. So I'll give a slight plug to that. If you're interested in working with more small businesses, we work with a lot of our local law firms and accounting firms here in the region, as well as marketing firms, both with providing grant dollars, right? And saying, hey, there's a small business here that needs that support. Can we pay for that support service with you? And then on the flip side of that, I really want to give a huge shout out to Dr. Carmen Thomas, who's running Transformation Gems right here in Lansing. She runs an all Black female accelerator program, and it's absolutely fantastic. She's in her third cohort already. It's funded through the TREC Small Business Support Hub, and we're seeing just tremendous results, not only in the impact on these businesses, but also the empowerment around the community and the growth here in the region. So, our goal here is to continue to uplift those, not only the known names, right, like the Chamber and the Small Business Development Center and the Fledge, but also some of our newer entrants to the market who are really doing a lot of great work here in our community to support small businesses.
Unbelievable. Is there anything else that we haven't discussed about the TREC program that you want to get in before we finish this up?
I would just say that definitely, make sure that people fill out the form. I think it's a great opportunity for them to really get connected. Even if you're, again, not going to get a grant, or maybe you're not going to join the program that you thought you would, getting part of the ecosystem is really important. The number one thing we hear from entrepreneurs is that it's a lonely journey, right? If you're out there starting your own thing. So making sure that you feel like you have a strong connected network and also potential customers and resources right here in the Tri-County region.
Fantastic. Well, we've been speaking to the Vice President of Small Business and Innovation from the Lansing Economic Area Partnership, Mr. Harrison Leffel-Jones. Thank you so much for joining me here today. It's really just fabulous information. How can people get in touch with you again?
Yep. Definitely head to our website, purelansing.com/startup, and you'll be able to get connected there.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much. And I'd love to give a final shout out to all of my loyal sponsors: Forsberg Real Estate Company, Wagoner Financial, Triterra Environmental, Good Marketing, Keller Williams Advantage and Team, Michigan Rise, and the attorneys at Foster Swift. Fantastic people worth the call. If you found this show as a one-off, I remind you to follow us and subscribe to Michigan Reimagined on YouTube, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeartRadio, pretty much anywhere you find your podcasts. This is Chris Buck signing off from Michigan Reimagined.